Hello and welcome back to the Assembly Hall for another episode of Notes from School, the podcast. With me, James B. Partridge. I'm going to be your teacher for today, Mr. Partridge. So sit up straight and make sure you're listening, because today we are going to be diving into a school assembly song/hymn that a lot of people will know and love. It's an absolute classic. It's an iconic tune. A lot of people will have it in their top 10 list of their favorite school assembly songs, and it's a song called All Things Bright and Beautiful. Okay, so this is one that has been around for a long time, but I'm going to get into it a little bit later on in the episode, and then, of course, we'll finish every assembly with a sing-along. So if this is your first time listening to this podcast, then feel free to go back through the episodes. Every episode I talk about a different song, and I've even had a couple of guest speakers into the Assembly Hall since we started, and I've got some more coming up. So I've got a very exciting guest coming, I think maybe next week. And if this happens, I am honestly so insanely excited to talk to this person, because I'm not going to give it away just yet, but let's just say he has made an impact on school assembly singing and a lot of people's lives. Okay, so that's a pretty heavy clue. So you may be able to guess who it might be next week. I'm hoping it's going to be next week. If not, it'll be the week after. But last week and the week before, we had some great chats about self-confidence and its ability to improve your life through music. And I looked at two different points of your life. We looked at youth singing with Rachel Staunton a couple of weeks ago with the London Youth Choir. And I also talked to Ella Rutter from Bright Yellow Coaching last week about how music can lift up your mood, and it can improve your confidence in a workplace, in a business setting, which is really interesting, kind of getting those two different kind of perspectives on how confidence can help in work and in your life, and a lot of it coming from music. Now, let me know if you have any requests for guests, but also topics that you'd like me to talk about, because it is kind of an interactive assembly. So I quite often do question and answer sections, and I quite often take song requests as well. So yeah, I'd love for you to get in touch. And if you do want to, then my email is notesfromschoolpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send me a message on Instagram or Facebook. Now, every week we start off with a bit of a catch-up or a correction section if I've made a mistake the previous week, but luckily we haven't had to do that for a bit. So just to have a quick catch-up, I had a really filled week with teaching and gigging. So this week I actually had 4 gigs alongside my teaching, so it's been a very tiring week. Last Wednesday, so the day of the last podcast, I went up to Cambridge, my old university town, to a venue called The Junction, and it's a venue I used to go out to a number of times and saw lots of gigs. I think the last gig I saw there was a band called Hot Chip, if you're into your indie electro stuff. And I saw Michael Kiwanuka there back in the day. I think it was 2011, 2012. I think it was Michael Kiwanuka supported by Jake Bugg, which was quite a cool gig. But then I was back there, and it was such a great atmosphere, really, really great atmosphere. But that wasn't the only gig I did last week. I did 3 more. So the next day I actually went to see a gig. I went to see a folk singer called Seth Lakeman. If anyone knows his stuff, he's great. He's got an album called Freedom Feels, which I was really into. He said next year will be the 20th anniversary of that coming out, which is slightly depressing. But he was great. That was at Union Chapel in London, which is an old church converted into a venue. And last week I was actually talking a bit about independent venues and art centres and things. And I kind of mentioned that it's been amazing going around the country and seeing all these different types of venues, from art centres to it might be like a converted church or something, or it could be a comedy club. And so many of these places are built out of the love of live performance. So I won't go too much into that again. But last week I did talk a bit about grassroots venues and how important they are. The next day I had a show in Henley at the Kenton Theatre. And that was probably one of the rowdiest gigs I've done in terms of the audience. We had a lot of paper planes being flown, paper aeroplanes going around, which is I've done with my school assembly bangers show. I've done nearly, I think, around 200 shows, maybe more actually, of the concept. And this is the first time in all of those shows that I've had people throwing paper airplanes, which, do you know what? I respect the dedication to the school aesthetic. I do respect that. And right at the end, when I came on for the encore, I had all these planes flying around, which was quite fun. Some of I did get a few of the messages that were on the paper planes at the end, which had been tidied up by the venue staff. And I think they took away, they said, oh, we found some that we didn't want to show you, so we've taken them away. So I don't know what was on them, whether they're rude or offensive, or I don't know. But there are a few with, let's say, interesting biological and anatomical diagrams on them. This is a family podcast, but yeah, that was great. And the next day, Cranley Arts Centre. So shout out to Cranley, and that was a very nice gig. All run by volunteers. And on the Sunday, it was another Sunday sing along at Butlins, and this time was at Bognor Regis. And do you know what? These shows are really fun because it's an opportunity for me to win over people that have no idea what is going on. Because I'm part of a larger event. Like I might be at a festival, but this is the big weekenders, so there'll be all sorts of acts playing. So actually, this one they had Billy Ocean and they had Pat Sharp and various other people. Who else do they have? Black Lace and all. Yeah, lots of random people. But I was part of it, and then I'll have a room full of like 1,500 people. Most of whom are just there for the weekend and not really sure who I am or what I do. And I'll come on stage like, right, it's time for the school assembly for the next hour and get everyone singing. And I like being able to hopefully win people over by the end. And talking of winning people over, at my Cambridge gig, I had someone post on their Instagram story afterwards, which was a very nice message. And it was Jules Oliver. And she said, not sure I have sung, cried, and laughed so much in ages. The best school assembly I've ever attended, and there have been a few. That is really, really nice. And I think it would be great to get Jules on the podcast so we can talk about her school assembly experiences. I do have to say, there is a point in the show where I do slightly rinse Jamie Oliver a little bit about getting rid of the turkey twizzlers, but hopefully that was taken in good faith. So maybe I can even ask her about what she thinks the best school dinners should be. Something like that. But anyway, she's got this clothing brand that's all kind of nostalgia inspired. And so if I can get her on the podcast, that would be amazing. So watch this space. I have had a few song requests this week, by the way, because I posted a video online of me singing a song called I Have Seen the Golden Sunshine. Okay. And this song actually got a lot of comments and a lot of views. It kind of was quite surprising, actually. So, yeah, I've seen the Golden Sunshine from the Someone Singing Lord book. And if you missed it from last week, I'll just give you a little blast of that now. I've seen the light, and that's why my heart sings. I've known the joy that loving Jesus brings. I feel like it's a little bit of a music hall type vibe. So you got, I don't know, it kind of feels like a bit Oliver Twisty. I can imagine it being that upbeat. But I had loads of amazing memories from people. I had one on Facebook from Julia Bennett Owens, and she said that she went to Gendros Infant School, Swansea, mid-1970s. I think the songbook was Someone Singing Lord. Correct. I remember so many songs from it. Can't remember what I did last week, but I remember these songs from 50 plus years ago. Wow. I mean, I'm glad that I've bringing back some of those memories. So she said, I remember these ones: The Golden Cockerel, I Love the Sun, Jesus' Hands. Is that the name of the song? Lord of the Dance, of course. And I Love the Sun, number 12. Interesting. Okay. And Kumbaya, of course. See the Birds in Wintertime. Now, those songs are all in this book, so maybe I should give you a little snippet of one of those songs. So, Julia, I'm going to play for you a song that you may not have heard in 50 years, if you are listening to this. I don't know if you do, but she commented on Facebook. And this is called The Golden Cockerel. I actually started off some of my shows with this song because I thought it was a very wholesome tune to kind of get everyone going. So this is The Golden Cockerel for Julia, and it is from the Someone Singing book. So if you know this one, feel free to sing along. And if you don't, here's a nice little uplifting tune for you. I'll just go straight into it. It goes, the golden cockerel crows in the morning. Wake up, children, welcome the day. God's bright sun is riding the heavens, chasing sleepiness away. Father, gladly we greet you. Here come, running to meet you. Please be in us and near us, hallowing our work and play. There we go, The Golden Cockerel. Beautiful tune. There is a little bit of text next to it, and it says, this tune will very happily take an ostinato and offers an excellent opportunity for this musical term to be introduced to the children. The simple recurring theme can be played on glockenspiel, chime bars, recorder, or any other pitched instrument available. The ostinato is written below. Every bar is the same except the last. Okay, so an ostinato is basically a repeated phrase, and here they've got this. Okay. So you can have that going. The golden cockerel crows in the morning. And the final time it goes, hallowing our work and play. You might recognize at the beginning of my podcast, I have a little similar ostinato going as well. So that is kind of an arrangement of a song called The Bells of Norwich, which is by Sydney Carter. It's kind of my own version of it. That's a tune that you hear at the beginning and the end of the podcast, by the way. The Golden Cockerel, what a tune! I opened my show with that for quite a while, but no one knew it, so I took it out of the show. But I still actually now, when I'm introducing the show, I say welcome. I have this little da 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 da. That's the ostinato from The Golden Cockerel. That is a little random Easter egg of my show, if anyone is interested. I open the show with that little ostinato, still from The Golden Cockerel. Now, Julia, I will maybe do your other songs another time. What's it called? See the Birds in Wintertime. Okay, there are so many great songs to get through, which means I can have lots of episodes of this podcast because we can dive into so many different songs. So, I'm not going to do a Q&A today. We have a very, very potentially massive global episode coming up next week with an Assembly Bangers legend. Okay, so if this gets pulled off, I honestly would be so excited to meet this person. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get into today's song because today we are singing about all things bright and beautiful, and it is such a great tune. A lot of us will remember it from our school days, or you might have had it at your wedding. When I was doing my top 10 wedding hymns in the UK, it was mentioned in there. And similar to a lot of songs and a lot of hymns, there are a lot of different versions of the melody. But the words were written by someone called Cecil Frances Alexander, and she was a poet, I guess, and a hymn writer, born in Ireland in 1818, and she was known for a lot of hymns, actually, but All Things Bright and Beautiful was one of the most famous ones. A couple of other absolute bangers that she wrote were There Is a Green Hill Far Away, which I have here in my in my old hymn book here. So I'll play you a little bit of that one. So this is There Is a Green Hill, and it goes... There is a green hill far away, without a city wall, where the dear Lord was crucified, who died to save us all. Yay, there we go. There is a green hill far away. That was by Cecil Frances Alexander. And she also wrote another tune, which a lot of us know, called Once in Royal David's City stood a lowly cattle shed. I just realized now that I have this podcast, we can do Christmas versions of them as well. We've got all the Christmas episodes coming up. So basically, once we get past autumn days and harvest and all that kind of stuff, we'll get into November, and I will be doing my tour, but it'll also be time for the Christmas episode. So as you can tell, I'm already excited. But Cecil Frances Alexander wrote all these bangers, and she was even referenced on Radio 1. And it's on a TikTok, which Greg James put up. And I'm going to put it on the podcast.
I'd like to hear Jack Saunders interviewing Cecil Frances Alexander from the 1800s.
Yeah, I think I'd like that too.
So tell us about your new song. Cecil, tell us about your new song. I hear that you had huge success with All Things Bright and Beautiful. And you're going to come back with a Christmas song. Notoriously hard to do. Really difficult to do. The Darkness did a good one. The Darkness did a great one. But can you follow up with a banger? What are we going to be hearing tonight?
Well, Jack, I've been writing furiously for the last few years, and I did have, as you said, huge success with All Things Bright and Beautiful. But I come up with a Christmas one. It starts as a poem, and
so it's a poem, amazing, because the words are important. Words are important whether they're with music or not with music, and that's what we love here on this show. Out here on Radio 1's new music show, this is Cecil Frances Alexander. And it's Once in Royal David City.
Oh, yeah. There we go. That's absolutely amazing. I love that. The brand new banger from Cecil Frances Alexander. Okay. So, she did. She wrote all these tunes. And, of course, the one that we're talking about today is All Things Bright and Beautiful. Now, why has it stood the test of time? Why do we love it so much? It's in the memory of so many children across the world. Not just in the UK, actually. I feel like this is quite a universal hymn. And I'm going to play you a few versions of the tune. So we have 2 tunes in the original Come and Praise book that a lot of us sang from at school. And I'm going to sing you these 2 tunes now, but it doesn't actually tally up with the one that a lot of us know. Okay, so the first one I'm going to play for you is tune 1 in Come and Praise. It is the song is number 3, and it goes like this. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to play you the version. It's the same tune. It is the version from the hymn book because it's written slightly better. Okay, so it goes. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, He made their glowing colours, He made their tiny wings. That is the chorus. All things bright and beautiful, etc. That's a great one. So that is tune 1 in Come and Praise. We have 4 verses, by the way, in this. I'll tell you about the other verses in a minute because there were more lyrics to it. Tune 2 that we have in Come and Praise, with music by Graham Westcott, who wrote this song. Think of a world without any flowers. If you remember that one of the most depressing school assembly songs of all time. It's a beautiful song, quite depressing. But Graham Westcott, I think, is he still around? Give me a shout out if you're still around. This is his version. And it goes, here we go. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, He made their glowing they their tiny wings. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures. Again, that goes back to the chorus again. Very nice. Okay, that is an interesting one. It's in what we call 6/8 in music, which means we have 6 quavers in a bar. It feels slightly more dancey, a bit more folk-like. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So rather than All Things Bright and Beautiful, the previous tune, All Things Bright and, which is in 2 beats in a bar. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But the version that a lot of us know, and the one that I do in my show, goes like this. Here we go. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small. I'm just going to give you that for now because we will sing a little bit more later on. But those are 3 of the hymn tunes. And you might even know a 4th one. Now, there's another composer called John Rutter who wrote a lot of amazing Christmas music. And he's a choral composer and he's still going, still writing stuff. I'm sure a lot of people would have sung his music before. And this is his version of it. It goes, all things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Each little flower that opens, and it carries on like that. So, as you can tell, it's some great lyrics, and they very much lend themselves to lots of different hymn tunes. So, we do have a little bit of controversy in the lyrics, because one of the original lyrics, the original verse 3 went like this. The rich man in his castle, the poor man at his gate. God made them high or lowly and ordered their estate. Now, when you're singing these tunes as kids, you don't really think about the lyrics very much. But I kind of thinking back on it, I don't know, it hasn't aged hugely well because, I don't know, I feel like those verses, they kind of reinforce the idea that class divisions, especially in the Victorian times, where they felt that class divisions were kind of divinely ordained, basically, so that God put the low people there and the high people there, and it's how God intended society to be. So that verse kind of fell out of popularity after a while. I think people realised, probably the teachers thought, not quite sure about this lyric. It's not a great message for the kids to sing about. But there was another lyric that still does get sung, and it's not supposed to be funny, but a lot of people found it very amusing, where we sing, the purple-headed mountain, the river running by. Now, the purple-headed mountain, I don't know what you're thinking about. This is a family podcast, but it always gets a laugh in the show whenever I sing it. The purple-headed mountain, the river running by. Get your minds out the gutters. The actual reason for the purple-headed mountain, apparently, was because it's been attributed to a few different locations, but the one that has the most likely claim was a place where she visited, which was a place in Wales, in Monmouthshire, Llanwynedd House, in Govelon, Monmouthshire, which I've actually been to. I've been to this place. I sang at a wedding there a while ago when I was singing my wedding band. And you can see the purple-topped mountains around. And so it's nothing rude. There is actually another verse that sometimes gets added into this song that was not written by her. And it's popular in Canada, apparently. It's called... it goes like this. The Rocky Mountain splendor, the lone wolf's hunting call, the Great Lakes and the prairies, the forest in the fall. We would not be singing that in the UK, that's for sure. So anyway, it kind of brings up an idea that could be discussed, maybe, whether we should sing hymns or songs all in their original context with all the original lyrics, or whether it's okay to prune a few verses. I mean, for length, this hymn's got like 7 verses anyway, so I think you don't want to be singing for about an hour in your school assembly. So I personally think it's all right to cut some verses. I do it all the time. I do it in my show. I don't do all the verses from every single song. But yeah, it does kind of bring up an idea of the controversial hymns and whether we should sing songs if they don't reflect today's current climate, society. I guess that's the same with any literature, isn't it? You know, should you be teaching certain texts in an English syllabus if it doesn't quite align with today's society? I don't know. I'm kind of the opinion that unless it's necessary to do it, then you don't really need to. But it's worth knowing about, just from the historical point of view. Okay, it is now time for the sing-along for today's episode. It is All Things Bright and Beautiful in the version that a lot of us know. And if you remember this tune, I'd love for you to sing along wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And hopefully it will give you a bit of a positive uplift in the day. Here we go. It goes like this. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. Each little flower that opens, each little bird that sings, He made their glowing colors, He made their tiny wings. Here's the chorus. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made. The purple-headed mountain, don't laugh. The purple-headed mountain, I can hear you. The river running by, the sunset and the morning that brightens up the sky. Here we go. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God. Okay, let's do one more verse. The cold wind in the winter, the pleasant summer sun, the ripe fruits in the garden, He made them every. One more time. All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made them all. There we go. What a song. All things bright and beautiful. And I hope you found it quite interesting talking about our OG hymn writer, Cecil Frances Alexander, who gave us some amazing lyrics. And by the way, that tune was not in Come and Praise. So there we go. I think it's called Royal Oak. I might be wrong. I think that's Royal Oak, the name of that. And it's based on a 17th century English folk song. So there we go. Another example of the folk tradition coming into hymns, which have then in turn become the folk tradition for a lot of us, still singing these tunes and passing it on from generation to generation. Now, it was a slightly shorter episode of the podcast today. I hope you still enjoyed it. It's been a very busy week, but we have an absolute cracker coming up next week, and I can't wait for you to hear it. I'm very excited for it, so I can't wait to see you in the Assembly Hall next Wednesday. And as ever, if you have any questions, if you have any song suggestions or requests, then you can comment underneath the episode on Spotify, or you can send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, and send me an email at notesfromschoolpodcast@gmail.com. If you've enjoyed it, please share it, subscribe, follow, review, all of that good stuff. And for now, I will see you in the Assembly Hall next Wednesday. Keep smiling, keep singing. Class dismissed.